Hey there, mathematicians. It's Miss Johnson. Today we're going to look at 10 different word problems and we're going to set up and think about all the things that we need to think about when we look at a proportion word problem. Okay? So we know that proportions are equal ratios. So when we read our word problem, we need to be thinking about the ratio or what's being compared. So remember, ratios have two parts and a whole. So we need to be thinking about what are those two parts and what's the whole. Then we need to look at what's being compared and what are they asking us to find to set up our word ratio. What's the ratio that we know, the original ratio that they give us in the problem, and then what's the unknown ratio? This has the other piece of information that they give us plus our unknown. And then last, we'll set up the proportion. Okay, so for these, we're not actually going to solve them. Right now, we're just understanding the word problems and we are setting them up. Okay, so that's what we're practicing today. All right, so let's go ahead and read the first question. It says, to make a certain color of paint, the ratio of blue paint to white paint is 5:2. How many gallons of blue paint are required to mix with 14 gallons of white paint? All right, so they give us the original ratio, which is blue to white, and it's 5:2. Then they ask us how many gallons of blue are needed to mix with 14 gallons of white. So what are our parts from our original ratio? Okay, so if we look at our original ratio, we have blue to white, which is 5:2. So is that a part to part or a part to whole ratio? It's a part to part. It's the two paints that make up the color are blue and white. So the blue is 5, the white is 2, and then the total altogether is 5 plus 2, which is 7. So if we had 5 gallons of blue and 2 gallons of white and we mix that together, we would get 7 gallons of this paint that they're looking for. Okay? So now let's think about, okay, what word ratio do we need? What word ratio do we need? So to find that, we are always going to look at our question. We're going to look at what are they asking us for? So they're asking us for blue paint. And then what's the other piece of information that they give us? Not from our original ratio that they give us, but the other piece of information. All right, the other piece of information is the 14 gallons of white. So we need a blue to white ratio. And that's what they gave us, so that's going to make it easier. So we need blue to white. And in numbers, that ratio is 5:2. And then our unknown ratio is, what do we not know? We don't know how much blue we need, but we do know that we have 14 gallons of white. Okay, so our proportion that we would solve will be blue to white. 5:2 equals x to 14. Sometimes we get to use the ratio exactly as it's given to us. So they gave us blue to white and we were able to use the exact ratio 5:2, that they gave us in the question. Sometimes though, we have to adjust it and change it. All right, let's take a look at number 2 and see if it's one of those. Okay, so it says at Christmas time, I kind of want to see the labels at the top. So at Christmas time, the candle maker makes five green candles for every 7 red candles. He made a total of 72 candles in one day. How many were green? Okay, so he makes 5 green to 7 red. So 5 green for every 7 red. He made a total of 72 in one day, and we want to know how many are green. Okay, so let's think about from our original information that they give us. There's 5 green and 7 red. So what is the total for that? Well, that's part to part, right? Green and red. And so our total would be, we would add it together to get 12 total candles there. Okay, so that's from the original information that they give us, the first information that they give us. Some kids want to say that the total is 72. Yeah, the total he made for the day is 72, but the total for the ratio that they gave us is not 72, right? Because it's 5 to 7, and 5 plus 7 is 12. All right, so what word ratio do we need? What do we need in order to answer this question? Okay, so let's go look at the question. It says how many were green, so we know green needs to be in our ratio. And then what's the other piece of information they give us? They give us the what? The total. So the ratio that we need is green to total. Okay, so from our original ratio, so from here, what is the green to total ratio? So there's 5 green and 12. So 5 out of 12. Again, don't get confused and say it's 5 out of 72, because it's not 5 out of 72, right? There's not 72 out of this 5 and 7, right? That's only 12. All right, now the ratio that we need to know with our unknown, right? We don't know how many are green, so green would be our X. And then our total is 72. We know he made 72 that day. Okay, so our green to total is 5 to 12, and we don't know how many green are out of 72. And so that's the proportion that that's the proportion that we would need to solve. Okay, so how these two are different, right? The first question, we did not have to change the ratio at all. It was blue to white. We had blue to white. But this one, we had to think about what we needed, and we had to change the given ratio to what we needed to answer the question. Okay, you're going to see both. As you work through proportion questions, you're going to see both. Where you just use what they gave you, you don't have to change it at all, and then sometimes you have to change it. All right, let's look at number 3. Number 3 says 3 out of 12 of the computers at Franklin Middle School are broken. If there are 144 computers at the school, how many are not broken? Okay, so 3 out of every 12 of the computers at Franklin Middle School are broken. There are 144 computers at the school. How many are not broken? Okay, so 3 are what? 3 out of the 12 are broken. So 3 are broken out of 12. So what is 12? Is 12 the total, or is 12 the how many are not broken? Is 12 the total, or how many that are not broken? Yeah, 12 is the total. It's 3 out of 12. So 12 is the total. If 12 was how many were not broken, it would say 3 are broken and 12 are not broken. So how do we figure out how many are not broken? Yeah, we subtract. So 12 is our total minus 3 that are broken. So 12 minus 3 is 9. Okay? So what ratio do we need to answer this question? So it says if there are 144 computers at the school, how many are not broken? So they're asking us for how many are not. So that needs to be in our ratio. And then what is the 144? Is it how many are broken or how many total? Yep, it's how many total. So our ratio is going to be not to broken. Oh, I guess I should have put not by that one. All right, so how many are not broken? 9 out of, it's not out of 144, it's 9 out of 12, right? The 12 from the original ratio that they gave us. And then we don't know how many are not broken out of 144. So our proportion would be not Miss Johnson messed this up. That should not be broken. That should be what? Total. So not to total. So it's 9 to 12 equals x to 144. Sorry about that. Hopefully you use pencil. You can erase that. Now, out of these first three questions, every time the part was missing. But that doesn't happen every time. That just happened in this first three. Okay, let's see if the fourth one will be different. Okay, so it says, out of 150 students Ms. Johnson teaches, 90 are girls. If this is representative of the student body, how many are girls if there are 780 boys? Okay, so let's look at the information they give us. So it's 150 students, 90 are girls. How many are girls if there are 780 boys? So what's 150? Is it the number of boys? Is it the number of girls? Or is it the total? It's the total. And 90 girls. So to figure out the number of boys, what would we do? Yep, we would subtract. So 150 minus 90 is 60 boys. So there's 60 boys. Okay, so what ratio do we need to answer the question? So it says, this is representative of the student body. How many girls if there's 780 boys? All right, so let's do a boys to girls ratio. So how many boys from the original information that they gave us? There's 60 boys. And how many girls? 90. Okay, in our other ratio, we need to know the number of girls. So we don't know the number of girls, but we do know that the number of boys is 780. So our proportion would be boys to girls, 60. 60 to 90 equals 780 over x. All right, hopefully you're starting to get the hang of this. So why don't you try to read number 5 and try to fill in the chart. Pause the video, try it by yourself, and then see if you get it right. Okay, so 7 out of 10, right? So 7 prefer in person over virtual. So 7 prefer in person. So is 10 the virtual or is 10 the total? 10's the total. So how many prefer virtual? How many doctors prefer virtual? So we would say 10 minus 3. No, 10 minus 7 is 3 prefer virtual. If there's 120 doctors in the survey, how many prefer virtual? So virtual to total, right? Because 120 total doctors were surveyed. So from our original ratio, how many prefer virtual? 3 out of, not out of 120, out of 10. Because from our original ratio, there was only 10. And then 120 were total surveyed, and we don't know how many of those chose virtual. Okay, so virtual to total is 3 to 10, which is x to 120. Okay. All right, let's pause the video. Try number 6 by yourself. All right, Edgar spends 20 hours Research Science Project, he spent 2 on the internet and 3 with books. How many hours did he spend on the internet? Okay, so this one, the words are kind of in a different order, right? So the total that he spent is up here, and then they gave us the ratio and then asked us. Okay, so just because they move it around doesn't mean it's any different, right? So he spent 2 hours on the internet, and he spent 3 hours with books. So how many total hours is that? 2 internet, 3 books gives us 5 total. Okay, so how many hours did he spend on the internet doing research? So we know we need internet in our ratio, but internet to what? What's the other piece of information they give us? Yep, it's up at the top. So 20 hours. So 20 hours would be the total number of hours that he spent studying. So go to our original ratio. 2 were on the internet out of a total of 5. And then we don't know how many he spent on the internet out of a total of 20 that he did all together. Okay, so internet to total equals 2 to 5, which is x to 20. Well, that's just a mess. Let me rewrite that. Okay. All right, so once again, pause the video, try number 7 by yourself. All right, so we have men who wear ties to those who don't. The survey is taken. How many men would be expected to wear a tie if 665 don't? Okay, so we have wear to don't. So 2 wear a tie and 7 don't. So that's a part to part. So our total, so wear would be 2, don't would be 7. And so our total would be, that's right, it would be 9. We'll put those together. Okay, so what ratio do we need? How many men would be expected to wear a tie if 665 don't? So 665 is the other information that they give us. So it's wear to don't. So 2 wear it, 7 don't. We don't know how many would wear a tie if 665 don't. So wear to don't is 2 to 7, x to 665. I hope you're getting the hang of this. All right, let me just kind of explain something real quick in the next question before you try to do it by yourself. All right, it says, to make punch, Denisha uses her mom's recipe of 3 parts mango juice and 4 parts ginger. So these words right here, parts. So those parts could be whatever you have. So let's say she doesn't have that much mango juice and ginger juice, and she just wants to use 3 cups of mango juice and 4 cups of ginger ale. What would taste the same as if she had 3 quarts of mango and 4 quarts of ginger ale. She would just be making more if she had the quarts. Okay, so when it says that word parts, it's just saying whatever part that you have. Do you have gallons? Do you have quarts? Do you have cups? Do you have teaspoons? Right? So that gives you a little leeway there to make it whatever you have available. Okay? All right, so now that you know that, go ahead and pause the video and try to do number 8. All right, so we know mango is 3, and I don't feel like spelling out ginger ale, so I'm going to put GA is 4. So our total that she would make for that would be 7, because that's part to part. That's the 2 parts that make up the punch. Okay, then it says she's going to make 21 quarts of punch. How much mango does she need? So the ratio we need is mango to total, or mango to punch. So from our original ratio, We have 3 mango, and how much punch would that make when she adds a ginger ale? Yeah, it would make 7. We don't know how much mango juice she would need if there's 21 quarts, and 21 quarts is the total. So mango to punch, or mango to total. All right. All right, pause the video. Try number 9. All right, so it says 5 out of every 8 wear white. So 5 wear white. 8 is the what? 8 is the total. So to get how many wear blue, we would say 8 minus 5 is 3. So 3 would wear blue. Okay, so let's look for the ratio that we need. So if there are 270 students here today with trying to trick us with a what? A blue shirt. At first I thought that was the total. It's not, because the 270 are wearing a what? A blue shirt. Predict how many would be wearing a white shirt. Okay, so make sure you read carefully. So we are going to do blue to white. So our blue is 3 and our white is 5. Remember, get those from your original ratio. And then 270 have a blue, so 270, and we don't know how many are wearing a white shirt. So blue to white is 3 to 5, which is 270 over x. All right, number 10 says 13 out of every 15 students are going on the field trip to the museum. If 14 are not going, how many are going on the field trip? Okay, so 13 out of every 15 are going. So 13 are going. What's 15? 15 is the total. So to get how many are not going, we say 15 minus 13 is 2 are not going. Okay, so we have 14 are not going. So how many are going? So the ratio we need is not to going. How many are not going to how many are going? Okay, so look at our original ratio. 2 are not going and 13 are going. And then our unknown ratio would be 14 are not going. So 14 are not going, and we don't know how many are going. So not to going is 2 to 13, which is 14 to x. Okay, so hopefully with us going through those 10 questions, hopefully you starting to get an idea of how to set these ratios up, how to set these proportions up, so that you can get the answer. So the first part is you have to set it up correctly. Once you set it up correctly, then you can just do your cross multiply or multiply by your factor or set up your ratio table depending on which way you like the best in order to get your answer. But before you can do any of that, you have to understand the question. So hopefully going through those 10 questions helps build a foundation. And as you go